Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today I'm joined by KJ Blattenbauer, and I am so excited for this conversation. It's part of our series on how entrepreneurs are making more time and spaciousness in their business. And I think KJ's case study is a great example of how to do that by actually restructuring your business offers. So we're going to spend a lot of time today diving into how KJ was able to restructure her business around leverage instead of volume so that she could increase her average client value by 2 to 4x, which is incredible, while actually working with 40% less clients. So we'll get into the details in just a moment. But first, KJ, hi, so good to have you here.
Hi, thank you for having me. Honored to be here.
Before we get into the case study details, I would first love to ask your Cubicle to CEO story. What was that catalyst that launched you into full-time entrepreneurship?
It was a let's burn this down. I had a great career. I'd done everything I wanted to in corporate America. I checked all the boxes, and I was sitting in yet another soul-sucking corporate review where they tell you that you care too much. If you just be less passionate and like you're dimming someone else's light. All the excuses to not give you that measly 3% raise that you totally deserved and then some. And I just sat there and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't listen to someone who doesn't care tell me I don't care enough when I've given my whole life, literally my whole life, to this company. I've made you millions of dollars this year and you don't want to give me an extra 5 grand. And so I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And they're like, oh, are you sick? Do you need to leave the review? And I'm like, no, I need to leave the company. Like, I'll give you my 2 weeks tomorrow. And I just got up and I left. Like, I don't even know what possessed my body. I just got up and I walked out of like my dream job. And I remember I didn't cry. I called a girlfriend from the car and I said, I just quit my job. And she said, what? And I said, I just quit my job. And she's like, your dream job? And she's like, are you okay? And she's like, do we need to call someone? And I said, no, I'm calling you. And she's like, do I need to take you somewhere? And I'm like, I don't know, margaritas. And she's like, you're very calm. And I'm like, yeah, well, she's like, are you in shock? And I'm like, I don't think so. I think I did the right thing. And I woke up the next morning and I felt great. And the CEO showed up at my house and he said, you can't quit. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. And here's my 2 weeks. And he's like, no, you can't quit. We need you. And I'm like, then I need a big raise. And he's like, we can't do that. And I'm like, well, then you don't need me. That's not how this is happening. And so we negotiated 90 days for me to be a contract worker. And I decided in that moment, I needed a change in my whole life. I literally didn't just blow up that. I blew up everything. I was in Minnesota. I was cold. I was fresh off a divorce. My job was literally like stressing me out to the point where I was sick all the time. I didn't feel well. I was depressed. I was losing my hair. Like I don't have
Wow.
that much to lose. So I moved at the spur of the moment to San Diego, California, halfway across the country. Knew no one, had only been twice. Apartment sight unseen. Highly don't recommend that last part. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I don't have a job. I don't have a net. I don't really have enough savings to be living in California, the California life that I've become accustomed to. And so I just started cold calling people I thought were cool, people I thought that needed press help, competitors that tried to poach me when I was working at that wellness company. And by the end of the first week, I had 13 clients. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to pay taxes eventually, better incorporate this. And that is my entrepreneur villain origin story.
Oh my God. First of all, I love that you call it your villain origin story. That's hilarious. Also, I am not just saying this. That is probably my favorite Cubicle to CEO story I have heard, at least in the last 2 years. It's so good. I don't know if I've actually ever interviewed anybody who truly quit like on the spot to their bosses or manager's face and just literally stood up and walked out and was like, I'm done. I'm done here. So that is epic. I love that you stood your ground even when the CEO came to your house to beg you otherwise. I'm so impressed. That's honestly so cool, KJ. Thank you for that. For those of you listening in who are new to KJ's world, I'm just going to give a quick 1-2. KJ is the founder of Hearsay PR and a 2-time best-selling author who helps founders become the person everyone is talking about. Obviously, great at storytelling, as you can see just from that quick little intro. And for nearly 3 decades, KJ has worked at the intersection of reputation, perception, and authority, advising experts on how to turn visibility into recognition that drives opportunity, trust, and revenue. And that kind of leads us straight into the case study, which is all around how you restructured your offers to your clients so that you could buy back some of your time and get past this revenue capacity that you were hitting up against, right? So let's actually talk about where you were in that moment in time, because this is fairly recent, right? You've made these changes in the last 2 years. You were at this point booked you were visible, you were successful by all accounts on paper, but you were really capped by your time. My question for you is, was this realization of needing change brought on more by your desire to have more like free space in your schedule? Was it truly a time thing, or was there like a certain revenue goal you were trying to hit and you were realizing that based on your current capacity, you didn't have the ability to hit it by increasing hours?
I think it was a little bit of both, but I also think most of it is I'm a firm believer that the universe gives you signs. It gives you signs about what's next, but it also, when the universe needs you to pause, it gives you a reason to pause, right? Like your body will just stop. About 2 years ago, I built the agency model, right? Public relations, there's really only one thing to do. You serve clients face to face, you build an agency, you accumulate a huge team, you sell your agency to a bigger agency, you work for a couple years, you ride it to the sunset. I had built the huge team of 15 people, realized that is not where I excel and shine, not what I want to do. I want to be in the trenches working with people. And I did that for a couple of years, but at a certain point, my body, the stress was killing me. It was honestly a trip to the hospital that gave me the wake up call that I needed. Like, we cannot maintain this pace anymore. I wasn't hitting the revenue goal I wanted. I wasn't even coming close, but I felt like I was working every single free hour. I was missing all the important things for my nieces, for family, for friends. I felt like I know there's no such thing as work life balance, but I didn't even feel like I had a life. I felt like it was just work was running everything, everyone else's schedule. So about 2 years ago, I realized that my business model, it looked successful from the outside. It was successful. It checked all the boxes. I was making all the figures. I was doing all the things. I was being asked to speak about how are you doing it all? Well, not well. But in the model underneath it, it wasn't scalable. Like I had too many retainers. I had way too much custom work. And the revenue was so dependent heavily on my personal execution. Growth meant working more hours, all the hours, every hours. I needed to make better strategic decisions. Like I was booked and I was visible, but I was beyond capped for like person doing 3 jobs. And so
Yeah.
the realization moment for me was, I mean, I've spent 3 decades helping other founders become known for something specific. And I hadn't applied that same positioning discipline to my own business structure. And so I think the turning point for me was realizing I built this respected business. It still required me to be everywhere all at the same time. It wasn't leverage, that's dependency. Like that's an abusive relationship with myself. And so I didn't want to grow by adding more clients. I wasn't even happy with the clients that I had, right? Like I was just
Mm.
taking them on to try and hit this revenue goal because I thought that that's what success was. And I wanted to grow by changing what I sold first. And so for me, I needed to rebuild a service business without adding the headcount, right? That was important to me because I don't want to manage people. I don't need to grow a big agency to know my worth, right? I wanted to use leverage before I did the headcount. The structure was going to scale better for me than staffing was. And so I realized that we needed to redesign my business around that leverage instead of responsiveness to other people. I didn't want to rebuild it by working harder. I wanted to rebuild it by changing what counted as work through like a strategy shift framework.
That makes total sense. And just to make sure I'm understanding the context correctly, you had built, like you said, that big agency of 15 staff members at the moment in time when you went to the hospital and you realized, okay, I need to restructure how I'm showing up and like what I'm even offering in the world. At that point in time, was that team already gone? Like they were already not part of this moment. Okay. So it was
They
just
were already
you.
gone. It was just
Okay.
I had grown it, I had started, I thought I needed to build this huge thing, I'd built this huge thing, and then I had a sports league come to me and say, "Hey, we just want you. We don't want the other people. We just want you to handle the crisis stuff." And it came at a time where I was like, I don't wanna be managing these other people anyway. This is the excuse, this is the exit I need to make. Just be me moving forward with that. And then I did the thing where I built it big. I was doing almost as many clients with just me and this big sports contract. And so
Yeah.
that's when the trip to the hospital was, okay, this is a wake-up call.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to take on that much is understandable for any entrepreneur to really crumble under that pressure. Let's talk about that offer consolidation piece because this was kind of like the biggest lever you moved when you started to look at your business a little bit differently. The first thing you did, you actually cut your service menu by more than half. And so how did you decide which services to cut? Because I imagine this is like one of the hardest things for a lot of people is when they've built things that have created great results or impact for, different people in their community, or even on paper, if something's generating revenue pretty consistently, it's really hard to cut something that's actually working. So, and it sounds like on paper, things were working. So how did you discern, okay, this is the one worth keeping versus these are the ones that need to go? What was that filter for you?
Well, I think I was guilty of someone would suggest something. I'd be like, oh, that's revenue, but also that's a great idea. I need to be
Mm.
adding the service and adding the service. I looked at all of those first, and that helped ease the uncomfortableness of cutting my services in half, right? I had way too many ways for people to reach me, to work with me. And it sounds really helpful, but it actually creates confusion and operational drag, right? You need to teach people how to get into your orbit. You need to teach, just like I teach them how public relation works, I need to teach them how to walk through the steps of working with me. So, yeah, it was really uncomfortable to cut offers, especially if they were the popular offers. But the complexity was costing me so much more than it was creating. For me to simplify, I looked at, first of all, what do I really want to be known for? What do I really want to do? If this hospital visit is like the first of many hospital visits, or if this is my one hospital visit where I get to turn everything around and make things happen, thank God, I'm being given a second chance at this. I'm not blowing this second chance. What do I really want to be known for? What do I really want to do? What lights me up? How can I show up every day, even if it is long hours, and be grateful for what I have, but energized for what I'm doing? I looked at those things first. Those things were non negotiable. And then I looked at, okay, these are my popular things. These are where I make money. Do I want to do those? Do they fit in? Is it really what people need? Because there's a lot of PR services you can offer. Most people don't need them. And my most popular thing that people think they needed at the time, I was like, I hate doing that. I hate doing that. It doesn't help them. They think it helps them, but it doesn't. I have to get rid of that first. And so I use simplicity to just what really works. What do I want to be known for? Like once I made those decisions, once I removed the ego from it, I just went to what do I really want to do? What serves me? How much do I truly have to give to this? Everything, it got really easy. Reducing the delivery and the complexity around everything, it started to happen almost immediately.
Most founders think visibility creates recognition, but it's actually the other way around. In Pitchworthy, KJ Blattenbauer shows how to become the person people quote, recommend, and introduce in rooms you're not even in yet. If you're tired of being excellent but overlooked, this book explains what editors and opportunities to respond to first. Get your copy of Pitchworthy at hearsaypr.com. That's spelled hearsaypr.com/buy-my-book. Again, the link is hearsaypr.com/buy-my-book, and start building recognition that travels ahead of you. The clickable link will also be below in the show notes.
You mentioned at the very beginning, there was a really popular service that people like your clients felt they needed, but you in your, like you said, in your own judgment and discernment were able to actually identify that was not a necessary component of the work that you needed to do for someone in order to achieve the goal that you wanted, which is to build them up as a visible authority. So what was that service? Like, what was that service that you ended up cutting because it wasn't necessary?
We used to have a low budget I say we. I used to have I used to have a low entry point, low monthly retainer. We can promise you so many pitches going out a month, and we can almost guarantee so many press hits coming back. And like if you
Mm.
Google PR right now, you'll see that offer in every PR agency. It's like $99 a month, and we can guarantee you press in here, 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 which you can't guarantee press anywhere, but also to be an expert in your industry, to be a thought leader, to move your business or your brand forward, you don't need to accumulate all of the press hits. You don't need to have a full press page. You need to show up consistently with a clear message where your audience is. You need like 3, 5 press hits, and then an expert to show you how to leverage those press hits into visibility across your social media channels, across other media interviews like this one, put it in print in your blog, guest blog post other places, use it on speaking stages, put it in a book. You need to build authority, maybe 3 or 5, where your audience is with your clear message, and then have someone show you how to compound that, how to leverage that. And by
Right.
eliminating that, 250 people paying me X amount of dollars a month to get so many press hits, I save myself from so much pitching, but I also save them from not getting the press hits that matter, right? Like there's media for noise sake, there's attention for attention's sake, but then there are press hits, there's media, and there's attention that moves authority forward. You have to focus on the authority part of it. And that's why strategy, especially paid strategy, matters so much.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Thank you for sharing that example. I feel like that tangibility always just really helps it click for me personally, and I'm sure for our listeners too. Let's now talk about the actual pricing changes that you made. One other big thing that kind of ended up on your cutting floor, as you just mentioned, were the lower margin retainers and your custom one-off work. I have questions about both. Let's start with the lower margin retainers. For you, what do you consider low margin or lower margin? How do you determine that? And like when you're looking at, your own financial projections, what percentage margin are you now shooting for where you are saying, okay, currently this percentage margin is what I consider to be like a healthy margin offer versus, what you were doing before?
My husband is in finance and he will die that I'm admitting this out loud. Um, I'm a words person, right? I'm not a numbers person. So everyone roll in your graves with me here. For me, 30% margin is great.
Mhm.
I don't need to hike up my prices. I don't need to skyrocket things. I love money. I love buying things. I want to contribute to the economy more than any woman on earth. Like I love things, but I don't want to price gouge. I want to help clients achieve success. I want them to feel like I over delivered at every aspect. So for me, 30% is a great margin for things. There are probably some of my services that are more like a 50% margin. And then there are some clients that are such dreams. I feel like it's probably an 80 or 90% margin because I don't have to really do any heavy lifting. Their message is clear because we've worked on it, right? They want it as much as I want it for them. Those ones are a dream. My time invested in probably working with them is probably on more like an 80 to 90% margin
Yeah.
once things get rolling. But 30% is usually where I start things.
Well, if it's affirming at all for you and for our listeners, for years, that is actually the golden margin that my finance team has set for our business. Now, obviously, every business model warrants different or necessitates rather different necessary profit margins
Mhm.
to be sustainable and healthy. But 30% is actually like 30% pre-tax profit margins are what we have always aimed for in our business. So I'm in complete concurrence with you. So no rolling in the grave here. But
Okay.
anyways, I appreciate the honesty there. And then for your custom work, this one intrigued me a little bit more that you kind of cut out custom work because in my head, most of the time when I'm talking to service providers, custom work is typically their most premium price point. And so when you eliminated custom work, did this impact your overall revenue, like your top line, even if your bottom line margins increase? Like, how did you think through that situation?
This one caused me the most angst, I think, about when I was eliminating things. This was my biggest worry because public relations is the white glove service, doing everything for everyone. But it's also, I've been doing this for 29 years. At this point, I can help everyone and I can charge 10, 20, 25,000, $30,000 for people to have my services a month. I can charge that. And it's lovely, but it's rare to be in public relations for 3 decades, right? It's high stress, it's other people's deadlines. I'm a dinosaur in this world, but I really do love what I do. And I decided for me, if I'm going to eliminate 10 grand per month, if I'm going to eliminate the 20 grand per month, I get to wake up and I get to choose who I want to work with. So instead of doing 10 or 15 of those, which when they are paying a higher price point, they become a higher touch point. It's the quality, not the quantity. And I was
Mm,
dealing with quantity of people. So I get to pick who I want to work with. And that's the reward. So I took away the high ticket item, the custom item, because yes, it is great. The money is good. Custom is where it's at for a lot of people, but you're trading your time for money with those.
mhm.
I can do just as many one day, a couple hour VIP sessions and make up that money and work so much less per month.
Yeah.
That is the turning point for me. So, I mean, when you look at the measurable results for me, within 18 or 24 months of doing my restructuring, I'd reduced my active client load by 40%, right? But before the leverage shift, I was running a very time intensive model. I was trying to sustain mid six-figure revenue through delivery heavy work every single day,
Mhm.
After restructuring around strategy led offers, I've increased that revenue 20% the first year. I'm probably on track to increase it by
To hear the rest of this episode and unlock weekly subscriber-only content and community access, join us as a premium subscriber at cubicletoceo.co/podcast. The link is below in our show notes.